Hey, Joe Munoz, I'm so thrilled that you're here with me in this video because I'm going to talk about a topic that's near and dear to me. Frankly, I've never shared any of this before. I've never spoken publicly about this before, but it's what drives me. It's what drives me every single day. It's what gives me certainty in the most uncertain of times. It's what allows me to value people infinitely and endlessly. And it's possibly the most valuable piece of content I will ever record out of the studio, ever. And so I'm just so happy that you're here, and with that I want to get started on this topic of spirituality. I've got my phone here, you know, constantly, obviously we all carry our phones, and I have these thoughts on personal growth, development, spirituality. I have observations in my day-to-day life, and I take note of them. And for the longest time I've been wanting to do this talk, but I've been trying to structure it in a way where I can articulate my thoughts effectively, and hopefully I do that. And I put together the highlights of everything that I want to share with you, because truthfully, I won't be able to share everything with you in this one video. But I do want to highlight some key things, and at the end of it I want for you to get three things out of this. Number one, I want you to have certainty, because I genuinely believe that the quality of your life is directly related to how much uncertainty you can tolerate in any given moment. That's the first thing. The second thing, I want you to know your purpose, or to find purpose. How do I find purpose for myself and for my life? That's the second thing. And the third thing, value people and to love on people. And with that, I want to start this whole thing out with a question, okay, that we're going to answer together. And the question I want you to ask yourself is one that I've asked myself many times, and I've come to the understanding of what I'm going to share with you here in this video, which is, what am I? Now, before I dive into this, I want you to know this is just my perspective, my perception, my opinion, my interpretation. And I think one of the many things in life that makes us grow frustrated is needing to deal with absolutes. Is it this or that? The world of duality, left or right, up or down, this or that. And we're having to pick and know that that's the one and that's the real one. And truthfully, at the end of it, we end up finding out that they're both false anyways. So what I would advise you is to go through life with minimal absolutes, not having to be right and not having to decide left and right and differentiate and distinguish from, but rather to be embracing of all, and embracing of particularly things that are unknown, regardless of who comes up and tries to preach that they have everything exactly figured out. I think in life we think we have it figured out, and slowly life cracks at our ego, and we gently begin to turn to the realization that we don't have all the answers. And so I'll preface it with that, and with that, let's get right into this. Now, I want you to ask the question of, what am I? Now, the typical question people ask is, who am I? This is a question that we've been asking basically since probably middle school, your teenage years. Who am I? Everybody's trying to figure out who they are. Frankly, many adults don't even know who they are. You know, you grow up and you're in your teenage years, and you're trying to realize, who am I? And you're trying to find your purpose and find your place in this world and find your way in this world. And as I mentioned, many adults haven't even figured that out. And with that, they grow up with insecurities, and the insecurities grow and they bother them. And so therefore they project these insecurities out on other people, because everybody's trying to answer the question of who they are. But I want to go deeper than that. And I want you to ask the question of, what am I? What am I? What are these things that I can wiggle, and these supposed toes, as we call them, which is a man-made name? And what is this that I'm in? What am I? Now, I'm getting deep on you, brother and sister. So take this with an open mind, but I can tell you that this is just, again, myself and how I draw from an infinite reservoir of certainty, by coming to the realization of what I'm going to share with you here. We can say we're body. What am I? Well, I'm a body, right? Okay, I have a body, right? And what else? Well, I got a mind, okay? So we're body and we're mind. I think most people could say, yeah, we're body and we're mind, right? Well, you know, I want to introduce you now to a concept which is known as, you know, the seer is not the thing that is seen. Let me say that again and say it slower. The seer is not the thing that is seen. What does that mean? What am I talking about? Well, I can see this marker. The seer, me, is not the thing that is seen. The thing seen is the marker. I'm not the marker. You with me? I can see this phone. I'm not the phone. I can see this book. I'm not the book. The seer is not the thing that is seen. Well, I can see my body, can't I? So I'm not my body. It's getting deep, I'm telling you here. I can see my body, and therefore I am not my body. Well, Joe, I can't see my mind. Really? Let's think about that for just a second. Let's use the mind to think about that. Have you ever had a thought that you didn't want to have? It's a negative thought. It's a negative thought. You're like, no, no, I don't want to think that. You're trying to turn it off. You're trying to turn away from it. You don't want to think it. You can see the thought. I see that thought that I don't want to think. Now, if I can see the thought, because the mind produces thoughts, if I can see that thought, I must not be the thought, because the seer is not the thing that is seen. So the question now is, what is this thing here? What is this true seer that is seeing these things over here? What is that? And that, my friends, is at the core, is at the bottom of, is the truth of who we are, and moreover and more profoundly of what we are. Now, I don't know what you want to call this, okay? You might want to call this spirit, your soul, consciousness, space, an eternal being. That's what we are. We're, in my opinion, an infinite and eternal being. Spirit. That's what I like to call it, spirit. Okay. Now, I was brought up Catholic, just so you know. Currently, I would say I'm more aligned with Episcopalian values, but the truth is, folks, those are all labels. You know, whether you want to call yourself Buddhist, Muslim, Episcopalian, Presbyterian, Baptist, whatever. I think we're all talking about the view at the top of the mountain. And there's many paths to the top of this mountain. You can call it what you want, but the view and the gaze outward is all the same. Deal with minimal absolutes, folks, and you will find more peace in your life. Okay? You don't have to be right or wrong on what you want to call it. Those are all man-made labels as well. But the view is the same. Okay? The view is the same. And it's interesting, when you go on top of, when you summit a mountain, nobody has to tell you the view is beautiful. You know it. Doesn't matter what denomination you are, what color you are, whether you're fat, whether you're skinny, whether you're rich, whether you're broke, doesn't matter. The view, internally, you feel the beauty, and nobody has to tell you anything. And there's certain things in life that are felt, they're not told, they're not comprehended, they're just known by instinct, which is likely our spirit or soul or being aligned back with union with everything that's around us, right? Now let's go to the mind for a second, because you see, the mind is a factory for the ego. Okay, now the ego, you might say, well, I don't really have that much of an ego, Joe, because I'm a good person at heart, and you know, I'm not egotistical. Well, that may be the case, and the truth is, everybody has an ego, folks, everybody. And the reason I say that, and I can say with confidence, is because if you and I and maybe a group of 10 other people take a picture, when we take that picture and we show you the picture, the first person you're going to look at in the picture is who? It's you. It's you. Does that mean you're a selfish person? Does that mean that you have this giant ego, that you're an egotistical person? No. But you do look to you. And that's a natural thing. We all have it. In fact, if we didn't have it, we wouldn't be here on this planet. You see, we're naturally in this body, which is ultimately destined to die. We're corrupt. We're corrupt in the sense that our infinite being is encapsulated, but we're in the suit. That's the way I see it. And so everyone's going to have an ego. But at the core of everybody is this being. And so how do I value everybody? How do I love on people? Well, because I know everybody at their depths, really what they are is spirit. They are consciousness provided to us by a creation that exceeds anything that we could ever imagine. The most merciful, okay, that exceeds all of our imaginations and loves abundantly. We all are provided with this inside, because we all can see our bodies and we can all see our thoughts. And therefore, it's easy to love on everybody when we identify the fact that there's unity and union in what we genuinely are at our deepest internal being. So loving on people and valuing people, you can value people a lot easier, folks, when you know that, when you feel it. You don't have to know, you just feel it in your heart to be true. Now let me go to the ego for a second. You see, the ego is anything that has to do with me, my, and I. Anytime you're talking about me, listen to me, listen to what I have to say, listen to what I have to say, listen to my thoughts. True right now with politics, with COVID, with opinions generated on left is the right side, right is the right side, you should be conservative, you shouldn't, you should get the vaccine, you shouldn't, you should get the booster shot, you shouldn't. People drawing opinions and judgments and going back and forth meleeing because they want to be right. I want to be right. Listen to me, listen to my argument. Everything is about me, my, and I. Now, me, my, and I is the source of all frustration. It is the ego, which is a product of thought, which is a product of mind, which is separate. It is the separate existence of this infinite being that we all have internally. The ego is the separate existence, the me, my, and I part of this infinite being. Now, I want you to take that on board, because now anytime you feel offended, it's the ego that's offended. It's not you. Okay, this is the true you. The ego is offendable. Your infinite being, your infinite spirit, consciousness, is not offendable. You understand that? And when you can begin to separate from this, which you won't do entirely in this world because we're trapped in it, but when you can begin to consciously separate from that, you get offended less. The things that people say to you bother you less. The wheel, as I like to use this analogy, you begin to move to the center of the wheel, you see, because a lot of times emotionally people find themselves on the outside of the wheel, and the wheel is spinning. And not only is it spinning, but particularly in today's dynamic, in today's world, it's spinning faster and faster and faster, and they get all caught up, flustered and frustrated in the spinning wheel. But when you begin to step back and ask and answer for yourself the question of what am I, and beginning to understand what you are truly through a process of elimination, of understanding what you are not. Let me say that again. Understanding what you are by understanding what you are not. I'm not body, I'm not mind, I'm infinite being, and so is everybody else. I can love them. I can value them genuinely. And I cannot get upset because I know that the upset, the disturbance, the offense that I take is a product of the ego, which is what I'm genuinely not. Now I can begin to move to the center of the wheel. And you see, now I can begin to draw certainty and have certainty in the most uncertain of times. You see, the people that are always uncertain are the ones that are always spinning on the edge of the wheel. They get affected by external factors. But when you turn internally, which is what we're doing in this discussion right now, when we turn internally and we begin to draw from our internal infinite river that flows in us, of spirit, of eternal being, of consciousness, the spinning wheel no longer affects you. Or at the very least, it affects you less. And when you begin to move to the center of the wheel, you can begin to see things for what they are. You can begin to think more clear. You can begin to make decisions that are appropriate for you and your family, for their well-being, for this well-being of others. Because when you're out here spinning, folks, it's hard to be effective and it's hard to be productive for anybody. It's hard to be effective for anybody. It's hard to be of use for anybody, which really brings me on to my next point. And you know, before I go there, I just want to share with you a couple biblical passages that validate much of what I'm saying. At least it certainly does to me. First, from the book of John, verses 15 and 19. This is Jesus speaking to his disciples. If you were of the world would love its own. But because you are not of the world, but I chose you out of the world, because of this, the world hates you. In other words, if you were of the world would love you. But because you're not of this world, it hates you. Well, what do you mean the world hates me, Joe? Well, we are subject to ailments of the flesh. We can get coronavirus, right? We can get the flu. We can get other kinds of diseases that are terrible. We can get offended. We have to nourish our body. We have to eat. We have to sleep. We have to drink, which, oh my God, Joe, you're making it sound like that's such a big deal. Well, the truth is, these are things that are forced upon us. We need shelter. We cannot be out in the elements. If we were of the world would absolutely love its own. And that's the words of Jesus here as we read from the book of John. Now, just another verse of scripture here for you, also from the book of John. Jesus speaking to God the Father, I have given them your word, and the world has hated them, because they are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. This is Jesus speaking. Remember this now. I do not ask you to take them out of the world, but to keep them from the evil one. They are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. Also from the book of John, do not love the world nor the things in the world. If anyone loves the world of the Father is not in him. Remember, we also know from Scripture, I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. Now, what does that mean, to remain in me and him in us? That's living in conscious union constantly. And I believe that the Bible has been turned into a book of requirements when it's really a book of relationship. To live in this world with a relationship of unity and conscious union with all other beings. You see, it's interesting how we like to think of a cause and effect, a challenge and a reward in our little human small mental thinking, that we like to put everything in a box, right? If I jump through this hoop, I get this reward in the end. And religion, unfortunately, I think probably maybe why many have turned away from it, the book has become a book of requirements. If you jump through these hoops, and if you jump over this ladder, and if you jump through this, over this barrier effectively, the reward is you get to go to heaven, right? And I believe, and again, this is just my perception of it, that Jesus' visit here to us was about providing us with instructions on how to live on earth. Instructions for a spiritual being on how to be a human being and live on earth as a spiritual being. It's not so much for how a human being can get to heaven. It's how a spiritual being can live on earth and return home to heaven, which is where we're from. Now I'm going to move on to the next point, which is, okay, Joe, so what's the purpose then for me, right? Because now I've talked about how to value others, how to find certainty, but purpose. When we're talking about finding your purpose, what's my purpose? Let's shift a little bit our focus into finding purpose. You know, from the book, the great book, the Bible, okay, we are given this verse from Scripture from the book of Galatians that says, bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. Bear ye one another's burdens. What does that mean? To me, what it means, folks, is to be of use. How do I bear burdens? Bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. We need to bear burdens, which to me, the translation is be of use to one another. Help one another. And it could be as small as holding the door open at a restaurant or at a grocery store, wherever. Holding the door open for somebody is bearing the burden of them no longer having to hold the door open for themselves. And it could be expanded into perhaps bearing the burdens monetarily. Maybe you donate $1 million to charity, or maybe you go to dinner with 10 or 12 or 15 of your closest family and friends, and we have a great time. We have all the appetizers and food and wine and dessert that we want, and then you pick up the tab in the end and you bear the burden of nobody else having to pay for that bill. Being of use, folks, is our purpose. Be of use. And I'd like to take it a step further with yet another verse from Scripture where we are told, you are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. In other words, folks, we are salt and we are light. We are to be salt and light. Now, salt makes things better and light makes things brighter. Make things better, make things brighter for others. Bear the burden, be of use for others. Help one another, value each other. These are the teachings that were given from the greatest leader of all time, Jesus. And when now we can begin to piece together the fact that, man, by bearing one another's burdens, I begin to feel of use. I find my purpose. This is why people, you know, oftentimes they say money won't make you happy. Well, of course it won't. Money won't make you happy. It will allow you to bear burdens, though, of more people, and that in and of itself will give you purpose and happiness. But I think many times people relate money and material things with happiness. If I could just buy a bigger car, a bigger house, a bigger boat, if I could upgrade my lifestyle and buy more things for me, ego, for me, I will find more happiness. And of course, that's why there's many rich people that don't understand this concept, and they're, despite the money, are not happy. You know, there's people that have plenty of affluence monetarily, but they're not happy. But you see, when we can begin to live with a mind of abundance and say, you know what, that's not a reason not to get money, by the way. I mean, I'm always on here talking about money. In fact, I wrote a book on 3 parts: money, mindset, and communication, and how to get money and how to multiply money, how to manage that money. Because you see, when you have sufficient cash flow, when you have sufficient money, when you have sufficient monetary abundance and wealth, and when I say wealth, I'm talking about the money element right now, because wealth is comprised of many things, not money alone, but specifically right now we're talking about money, right? When you have money, what it does is it gives me the ability, the option to bear the burdens of many, and to do so without a mindset and from a platform of scarcity, without doing it from a lens of scarcity. Because you see, most people, unfortunately, we live in a society, and I put out a video recently on this where I say, hey, you know what? We give significance to, in fact, we glorify retirement. What is retirement? Well, now you don't have to go to work anymore. You don't have to bear any more burdens of anybody. In fact, now you have enough little reservoir of your own that you can just not do anything. Truth is, folks, to me, retirement's not even a question. That doesn't mean you don't want freedom. I think people equate retirement to freedom, and that's not the case. I can live free right now. I am free. Look at me, I'm moving freely in this space. You understand? I don't want just retirement. You want abundance, folks. Abundance to bear the burdens of many, to serve, to be salt and light and shine as bright as possible on the highest hillside possible. And so when you hear me talk about abundance, it's because, man, with cash flow, right, I can bear the burdens of many, and I can do so without thinking twice about it. And that's ultimately what motivated me into doing these kinds of discussions, writing this book, and really some topics from that book, which is on mindset, removing limiting beliefs. You see, oftentimes we have these limiting beliefs that you can't because of this, that, or the other, and really that's a thought produced by the mind, which I am not. I'm an infinite being. I'm not limited. You cannot limit. This is why everybody has an unlimited potential, and their mind gets in the way. When you get to the core of this, now you say, hey man, I can open 100 businesses if I want, and I can earn as much as I want, and I can help as many people as I want. In fact, really my entire purpose on this planet is to do that. It is to be of use. The reason I get up in the morning is to go out and be of use in this world. And the more people I can serve, the more I feel my purpose fulfilled, the more purpose I feel internally. And so I hope that having gone through this now, we can aim to say that we've accomplished, to a certain degree, having you understand how to build certainty and understanding that the quality of your life is truly related to how much uncertainty you can tolerate in any given moment, and finding purpose for yourself by bearing the burdens of others, and also in valuing people. Go out into the world, folks, and be salt and be light. Live in conscious union with everything. Know that everything here is a part of a bigger plan, a part of a bigger picture. And you know, I have the benefit as an airline pilot that I get to go up frequently and peer down on the world and at, frankly, the specks of dust that we are, that are flying through space, spinning on a rock, okay? Don't take yourself too serious. Know that you are an infinite being that can value others because they are as you. You're here to serve others. You can produce infinitely, and your potential is limitless. When you feel offended, know it's not you, but rather a thought of the mind and of the ego, a byproduct of the ego, of course. And also know that living with an abundant mindset ultimately allows you to expand into helping more people, which is genuinely why I do what I do. It's why I do what I do. To help more people with my flight school, with MunozMission.com, and with every engagement that I'm in. All right, so be great. I hope this video finds you well. I hope you took something out of it. I would love nothing more than to connect with you and be of use to you, because frankly, it's the only reason I feel that I honestly exist in this world. And I know that when you go out and do the same and you be of use to others and help others, you're going to feel that same thing too. I like to use this term, you know, be selfish to be selfless. I think too many people, they are not selfish to be selfless. They're selfish to be selfish. What I mean by that is, you know, I use the analogy because I fly airplanes. I use the analogy on an airplane. They always say, hey, if we have a rapid depressurization and the cabin loses pressurization, don your oxygen mask first, and then you go help other people. Well, guess what? If you don't put on your oxygen mask first, folks, guess what happens? You go hypoxic. AKA, that's a fancy, made-up, man-made word for a loss of oxygen. You get oxygen deprived. And you know what happens when that happens? You pass out. And then how much use are you to anybody in that moment? You're not. So you don your mask first. You help yourself first. And when you help yourself, go help your entire row. And help the other row too. And help the row in front of you and help the row behind you. But take care of yourself first. And then that will allow you to put yourself in a position to help other people, right? Learn and have that mindset and want to have that mind of abundance. Live from a place of abundance. From a place of selfish selflessness, where you want to take care of yourself and your family so you can march out into your community and into the marketplace to be of use to more people. And in doing so, see your potential expand infinitely. See your purpose flourish. And see the peace within you begin to expand infinitely. Joe Munoz is my name, MunozMission.com. The place where you can find my books, the place where you can find links to my Flight Academy, One Step Prep, the place where you can find me, and hopefully where I can be of use to you. I'll see you there. I genuinely hope that you found value in this video and that you found it to touch something internally in you that you already know for yourself that you have inside. I would love nothing more than to work with you on a closer, more intimate, personal level. And with that, I want to introduce to you my mentorship program. My mentorship program is structured around this book that I wrote. It's titled Flight Plan. Now the reason it's titled Flight Plan, if you don't know, is because I'm an airline pilot and I founded a flight school titled One Step Prep, which is right here in the studio where I'm recording this. We're based in Miami, but beyond the cockpit, I've extended my reach into really wanting to touch everybody. And I wrote this book focused on 3 primary focal points, which is money, communication, and mindset. I want to work with you by giving you this book. It's 225 pages long with 80 lessons, and going through the book together with you on a personal level. We're going to meet every month. You're going to have my book. You're going to have the associated video and audio programs that go with it. And every month, I'm going to meet with you to go through your finances, to make sure that you are putting aside the money that's needed, investing the money where it needs to go, multiplying the money to have the financial position to bear more burdens of other people. We're going to talk about communication as well, so that you can ultimately influence others more effectively to help them in their lives. And finally, we'll talk about mindset. This is the internal turn where we are a little bit selfish to be selfless and put you in a prime mental place to be able to go out and do more for your community and for those around you. Look forward to having you join. MunozMission.com/mentor is the link, and I'll see you there.